Speaking of plays, though, too, we do have a very special guest who's going to be on with us here in just a bit, Guillermo Reyes. He is an author from Arizona, and he wrote the playwright for That Day in Tucson, which is a very powerful and thought-provoking play. It does tell the inspiring true story of Daniel Hernandez Jr., who was a young intern who helped save Congresswoman Gabby Gifford's life during a tragic shooting that did happen in 2011. So I want to thank Guillermo for being here on with us on the air. We have him on right now. Thank you so much for your time to come on to WRMN and speak with us here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
You're very, very welcome. Guillermo, tell us a little bit about yourself, just a little introduction on who you are, what got you inspired to become an author too, and then we'll go into more conversation on what got you interested in writing That Day in Tucson.
Sure. Well, I am originally from Santiago, Chile. That's where I was born. So my family is an immigrant family from South America. I came here as a child. I've been a writer since, I was like 10 years old. But of course, at that age, I wasn't publishing anything. I was barely learning English. Eventually I got into the habit of writing, and in college I started writing short stories and plays and things like that. I really didn't know what I was getting into at the time. I just felt the need for it. I took a lot of classes, and then eventually I got a master's degree from the University of California in San Diego. And I've been writing ever since. And a lot of my writing is indicative of the immigrant experience in this country, and that's one of the things that interests me. And also, then when we get to the story, that was also in some way connected to it. So.
Absolutely. Now, tell us a little bit here. You have mentioned before too. You've read Daniel Hernandez's book, providing the focus that you needed to start this play. You really did shape it as a docudrama, reenacting the events of that day. Tell us a little bit, for those of folks out there who don't know, what That Day in Tucson, did happen back in 2011.
Right. Yes, Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords was having a Meet Your Congresswoman type of event right outside a Safeway in Tucson, when a young man, Jared Loeffner, began a shooting that killed several people, 6 people, I believe, and injured many more, including Gabby Giffords. Daniel Hernandez was an intern at the time with her congressional office. He was 19 years old. And in fact, he hadn't even started as an intern. He was like 2 days from starting, but they asked him to be a part of this event to pass out flyers and things like that. And suddenly there's a shooting going on, and Daniel gets involved and rushes to help Gabby Giffords, trying to stanch the flow of the blood and her injuries. It was very shocking all of a sudden to be a part of that. But he is credited with helping save her life. And then at the time, the media then brought out his name all over, and he was suddenly doing interviews, and it created this big media frenzy. And then he was outed as gay, and that also created another stir. And so it created this media frenzy that, of course, changed his life at 19. Yep. And then he wrote a book about it, and that's, in a sense, in a nutshell, the various images that I put together for the play.
Now, what I find very fascinating is that the play incorporates actual news audio clips from the day of the shooting. Now, what was your intention behind blending real media with dramatization? How do you think it affects the audience's experience when they're sitting down and watching all of this unfold?
Yeah, I wanted the play to have that sense of immediateness, that something is happening, with headlines and TV reports coming in. To give an example, that's the way I experienced it. To give an example, is that CNN used to send out these headlines, with the latest breaking news, and one of the headlines that they sent is that there's been a shooting in Tucson, and then a few minutes later, Gabby Giffords is dead. They pronounced her dead. And, of course, that was even more shocking. And then a few minutes later, they pronounced her alive again and apologized for the inconvenience. So it was happening, and that all of a sudden all these crazy things were happening, and I wanted to capture that essence of it in the play itself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how the play is rendered, with a lot of media and headlines and so forth, to give us a sense of what is happening.
Now, as a writer yourself, I know, of course, when it comes to writing things, and I've always loved, like when I was in school, I loved writing. I loved performing in theater. You really get into the character, you get into the story, you get in and into the emotion. I'm sure you've had moments. I'm sure you've had moments where you need to maybe step away for a bit, because sometimes it can be a little bit. It can be very heavy at times. Or are you the type that just keeps going at it? You find ways to continue through, to push through.
Well, in this case, I mean, obviously the event is very dramatic, but I did, because also thanks to his book, but also interviewing him personally, I got a sense of his family life, and that's when the play slows down a little bit to capture an essence of his family life, with his father being an American citizen who doesn't speak Spanish, and then his mother being an immigrant who speaks Spanish mostly and little English. And so I found that very intimate, and I included that as an aspect of the play itself. So obviously we have the big events, but we also need to slow down to catch up on the family and what that feels like for us to get to know the the characters a lot better.
Now, of course, there are some other themes that are addressed in That Day in Tucson. Intersectionality kind of themes of intersectionality. So concerning like Latinx and LGBTQIA plus identities. So why are these themes important as well to you?
Well, because I felt that we needed to get to know the character, and also for us to get a sense of what a so-called hero looks like, that he is not somebody who came in blasting with a rifle in hand to save the day. He was actually armed with just the knowledge of emergency procedures, which he had taken. He had been certified in high school on how to deal with first aid, that type of thing. And that's really what saved the day. And so I wanted to give a profile of a young man who did a heroic deed, but who isn't, considered to be a traditional hero. Who's just a young man, a young gay Latino man.
Right. And so I think what that does is it shows, of course, his character, and and like you said too, you actually interviewed him as well too. How was that experience, interviewing him?
Well, I needed to interview him also because I wanted to get his permission to do the play, and it was cool. It was, he just basically, we went over the details of the play, and I got a better sense of his family life, and. He was just, very, he didn't know too much about theater, so he wanted to, get a sense of what that would look like. So, I told him a little bit about myself and my process, and then eventually we got that done in Tucson. That was the first production there. And his family came, those type of things. Yeah, a family reunion in many ways, because there were people who had been at the shooting, some of the survivors, in other words, and so it was a very emotional, I think, event for me and for the rest of the audience, I think.
Absolutely.
Cathartic, I guess. Cathartic.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you write a play like this, of course, you want to make sure that you balance the dramatization while also still, of course, respecting those affected. And so I think it's great that you first and foremost made sure that you had permission to do this as well, out of respect.
Right.
That's very important too. So. So this is an interesting play. It's going to be coming up here, or it is continuing on. It will be at the Elgin Community College. Pardon me. I'm actually I'm a graduate from Elgin Community College, so I'm so glad that it's an honor to go to a school that is having this performance. It's Friday, May 2nd, so it's tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. to 9:30. If anyone is interested, folks that are listening in or watching on our YouTube channel, the cost is $14 for adults and $12 for seniors, and ECC students get in for free. So I want to thank you, Guillermo, so much, of course, for coming on the air today and talking with us about this. I think it's very important as a writer, and of course, all of those out there too who are inspired to write, to find inspiration in this as well too. So I thank you so much for coming onto the air today. Before we let you go,
Yes.
how do you envision that day in Tucson contributing to national conversation on gun violence and community resilience also?
Well, I hope it's a healthy discussion, a healthy debate on those various issues. I certainly try to keep it balanced.
Hmm.
The play is not there to harangue people. It's there to show the emotional effects of a shooting like this, but also the inspiration of how a young person can contribute. To me, that's what's most important. You know.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again so much for joining us. Is there anything else? How can people actually find more information about you? I know you've written some other books out there as well too.
Well, just Google me. It seems like I'm in the Google Guillermo Reyes playwright. Usually that comes up with my various plays and the memoir that I wrote. Another growing up memoir in this case called Madre and I, a memoir of our immigrant lives, published by the University of Wisconsin Press. So
Awesome. Guillermo, thank you so much for joining us
sure.
today on WRMN, and we're looking forward to this very touching performance.
All right. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Bye-bye now. All right, that was author, playwright, producer for that day in Tucson, Guillermo Reyes. Thank you so much for joining us here today. If you want to find more information, you can visit, of course, the author profile page, dramaticpublishing.com. You can also look him up as well, too. And he is all over the web, of course. You can find different books and other playwrights that he did make. So if you do want to check that out, of course, you can feel free to do so. Now, of course, tomorrow is the ECC's performance. It's Friday, May 2nd. It'll be from 7:30 until 9:30. You can find more information posted on their website. That's elgin.edu. Again, it's $14 for adults, $12 for seniors, and ECC students with a valid ID card get in for free. Again, this is a play recognizing the true story, of course, of Daniel Hernandez Jr., helping to save Congresswoman Gabby Giffords' life during that tragic shooting back in 2011 through themes of resilience, courage, and the impact of one moment. This is a compelling production that sheds light on heroism in unexpected places as well. We also get to dive into the character as a Latino and as well as a gay man as well, too. This is a way that's serving as I would say, like a human lens for exploring the effects of gun violence. It encourages audience, too, to consider their roles as allies and advocates for change as well, too, especially in times of uncertainty also. So very good. If you want to check out more information, you can feel free to do so. Of course, this play has been produced many times before, too. There are actually some really interesting pictures that are featured out there that you can actually find as well. So I highly recommend checking it out. It's definitely a very touching story as well, too. It can be kind of scary, of course, with the world we live in, but know that there are good people out there that are willing to help and are willing to make a change and to speak their mind and to present themselves, too. And I think that that's very good. So feel free to check it out for yourself, of course. Very well done play, of course, based off of the true story. And feel free to find more information at elgin.edu. That's elgin.edu. It's coming up tomorrow, 7:30 to 9:30. It's at the main campus, Building H. It is going to be located at the Second Space Theater. So I encourage you to check it out.